I never thought I'd find myself locked in a stranger's house, wearing a white dress I didn't choose, staring into the eyes of a man I had never met. A man who didn't speak, who barely blinked, who just sat there and smiled like a child, even though he was nearly 40. They said he was special, that he just needed a gentle wife to keep him company. That's what I was supposed to be, his wife. But I came to America for a job. I was promised work, a place to live, a family to take care of. Ms. Evelyn found me through a Facebook group for Filipino nannies. She said she needed someone kind, someone respectful, someone who'd stay. I was all of that and more. I sold everything I had back home, my jewelry, my scooter, even the necklace my mother gave me, to buy the ticket to Florida. She picked me up from the airport with flowers, said I was even prettier in person. I smiled, naive. I believed I had landed in the land of opportunities. I had no idea I was walking straight into a lie so twisted it still makes my skin crawl. Because when we got to her house, there were no toys, no playroom, no signs of children at all. Just one room, locked, and someone breathing behind the door. The job didn't exist. And once I stepped inside that house, neither did I. I grew up in a small village just outside of Manila where every girl dreamed of going to America. We saw it in the movies, big houses, clean streets, people who smiled with their teeth and paid in dollars. My mother used to say, "If you ever get the chance, don't think twice." So when Ms. Evelyn messaged me, I didn't. She said she was looking for someone responsible, someone sweet and traditional, to help with her 2 grandchildren. She even called me darling in her emails. It felt warm, like family. She offered a private room, weekends off, and $500 a week, more than I'd ever made in a month. I printed her message and read it to my mother. We both cried. It felt like God was finally opening a door for us. I was 23, hopeful, and completely unaware of what waited on the other side. Looking back, there were signs. She never gave me the children's names. She kept delaying the paperwork. She told me not to tell anyone the address for safety reasons. But I wanted to believe. Sometimes, when you're desperate, hope sounds louder than fear. And before I take you deeper into what really happened once I entered that house, I just want to say this. If you've ever trusted someone and had your trust shattered, if you've ever believed in a promise that turned into a prison, you're not alone. Please, if this story resonates with you, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. It helps more people find these real stories that deserve to be heard. And let me know in the comments, what country and city are you watching from? I want to see how far the truth can travel. Now here's how everything started to fall apart. When I first saw Ms. Evelyn's profile picture, she looked like the grandmother every little girl wished she had. Silver hair in a neat bun, round glasses, and a smile that felt motherly even through a screen. Her bio said she was a retired teacher and proud grandma looking for help with the little ones. I had never met a real American before, and something about her message felt safe, kind, familiar. She told me I'd be taking care of her twin granddaughters, Ava and Elise, while their parents worked overseas. The job would include light cleaning, preparing simple meals, and being a friendly face in the house. She offered me my own room, access to the kitchen, and Sundays off to attend church. It sounded like a dream. We video chatted once. Her camera was blurry, and I could barely hear her voice, but she said, "I can already tell you're the one." That line stayed in my head for days. I told my mother, I told my neighbors. I even told the lady at the corner store who blessed me with holy water before I left. I was nervous but excited. I'd never left the Philippines before. I didn't even own a suitcase. I borrowed one from my cousin and packed only what I needed. 3 dresses, my English Bible, and the family photo my little brother slipped into my bag without telling me. The plane ride was long, and my stomach was in knots the whole way. I imagined the twins playing with dolls, waiting for me. I imagined cooking breakfast in a sunny kitchen, sending photos to my mom of the garden I'd be allowed to care for. Evelyn told me she loved orchids. So did I. At the airport in Orlando, she was waiting with a sign that said, "Welcome, Angel." That was the name she used for me. Angel. Not Maria, not Miss, just Angel. It felt like a nickname only a loving grandmother would use. She hugged me as if we'd known each other for years. She took my bag and said, "Let's get you home, sweetheart. Your room is ready." The car ride was quiet. She didn't ask me many questions. Just said she was glad I came, that God has his way of sending the right people at the right time. I smiled politely. I was exhausted, but grateful. She offered me a bottle of water and said, "You must be thirsty. Florida's heat is no joke." We drove for nearly 2 hours, past neighborhoods I'd never be able to afford, past orange groves and signs I couldn't read fast enough. Eventually, we turned onto a narrow dirt road that led to a gated property hidden behind tall oaks and overgrown hedges. The house was large but old, with dark green shutters and a front porch that looked like it belonged in a movie. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of lavender and lemon oil. There were no toys, no photos of children, no sound of laughter. Just silence. I told myself the twins must be asleep. She led me up the stairs, past a locked door, and into a small guest room with floral wallpaper and a window that wouldn't open. "This is your space," she said. "Make yourself at home." I thanked her. I was too tired to notice the tension in her voice, or the way she double-checked the lock when she left the room. I unpacked slowly, placed my Bible by the bed, and whispered a quiet prayer. I was here. I had made it. But the house, it didn't feel like a place with children. It felt like a museum, like a place where time had stopped. And behind that one locked door in the hallway, I swore I heard something. A breath, a cough, a whisper. I thought maybe I was imagining things. Maybe the jet lag was messing with me. I had no idea that what waited behind that door would become the center of my nightmare. And the job I thought I came for? It never existed. That first night I didn't sleep much. The bed was soft, but the silence was louder than I expected. No traffic, no TV. Not even birds outside. Just the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards and that quiet, steady breathing behind the door across the hall. At breakfast, I asked about the twins. "Oh, they're with their parents this week," she said quickly, brushing crumbs from the table. "You'll meet them soon. You just rest today." She placed a single boiled egg and toast on my plate. Her hands trembled slightly, but her smile never broke. As I looked around, I noticed there were no family photos. No drawings on the fridge, no backpacks, no shoes by the door. I told myself not to be paranoid. Some Americans live differently. Maybe they didn't like clutter. Maybe they were private. After breakfast, she showed me the backyard. It was overgrown, with vines crawling up the fence and weeds swallowing the flower beds. "I used to keep orchids here," she said. "Maybe you'll help me bring them back." That small sentence gave me peace, a task, a routine, something to hold on to. Later, she handed me a list, housekeeping suggestions, she called it. But it was strange. Instead of chores, it said things like, "Don't open the locked door. Don't go outside after 8 p.m. Don't answer the landline if it rings. Always knock before leaving your room in the morning." My stomach tightened. "Is this for the twins' safety?" I asked. She paused, then nodded. "Yes, exactly. They have routines, special needs." It was the first time she broke eye contact. I folded the list and tucked it into my Bible. I still wanted to believe this was a real job, a real opportunity. But in that moment, something told me. This house had rules because it had secrets. And I had just entered one of them. The second day, I woke up early, dressed neatly, and waited in the kitchen by 7 a.m. I wanted to prove I was responsible, eager, ready to start. But Ms. Evelyn didn't come downstairs until almost 10. She looked surprised to see me already there. "You don't need to start this early, Angel," she said. "This isn't Manila." I smiled, unsure if it was a joke. "I thought the girls might need breakfast," I said. She blinked, then forced a smile. "Right, of course. The girls." She handed me a mop and a spray bottle. "Why don't you clean the windows today? They've been streaky lately." There was no mention of the children again. That day, I cleaned every window on the first floor. Some were stuck shut, others were painted over. Outside, the world seemed far away. No neighbors, no passing cars, just the trees and the silence. Around midday, I asked if I could call my mother. Evelyn froze, then said, "There's no signal out here. We're too far from the tower." I checked my phone. No bars, no Wi-Fi, no messages. "You'll write her soon," she said. "Letters are more thoughtful anyway." Something about her tone made me drop the subject. That afternoon, I heard music coming from the locked room. A low hum, like an old hymn, played on a broken organ. I stood near the door, heart racing. Someone was humming along. I knocked softly. The music stopped. That night, Evelyn cooked dinner. She served only 2 plates, one for me, one for her. I asked, "Aren't the twins joining us?" She paused, then whispered, "Not tonight. They get overstimulated by too many smells." The air was thick with silence again. I lay in bed replaying every interaction in my mind. The missing children, the strange rules, the locked door, the music, the lies. On the 3rd day, I asked Evelyn again if I could go to town, just to buy toiletries. She laughed. "What for? You have everything you need right here." She opened a drawer filled with neatly folded items, all new, all the exact same size, all in my size. That's when something shifted inside me. This wasn't hospitality. This was control. I started searching the house while she napped. I tiptoed into the laundry room and found no children's clothes. Only women's nightgowns. All the same pattern. I opened a drawer in the hallway. Dozens of letters, all addressed to different girls, all in the same handwriting. I opened one. "Dear Angel, you are the blessing we've been praying for. We hope your flight was peaceful. Your room is ready. Your future begins here." My heart stopped. Dear Angel. Every letter said the same name. There was no Ava, no Elise, no job. I was just the next one. I shoved the letters back into the drawer and closed it slowly, trying to quiet my breathing. My legs were trembling. I wasn't just imagining things. This was something real, something wrong. I had to leave. But how? I checked the front door, locked. The windows wouldn't open. I walked around the house, looking for a back exit, a basement door, anything. Everything was sealed, bolted, reinforced. Even the bathroom window was nailed shut from the outside. That night, Evelyn knocked softly on my door. "I noticed you didn't finish the laundry," she said. Her voice was calm, almost kind, but her eyes were sharp. "You're not thinking of breaking the rules, are you?" I shook my head. "No, ma'am. I'm just adjusting." She smiled. "Good girl. That's what I like about you. You're obedient. That's why you were chosen." She walked away, humming the same tune I had heard behind the locked door. I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling all night, gripping my Bible. I wanted to believe there was a way out. I wanted to believe she was just a lonely old woman with strange habits. But the voice inside me said otherwise. The next morning, I found the locked door slightly ajar. Just a crack. Enough to see a pale arm lying on a couch, motionless. Then it moved. A man, maybe 35, slumped in a chair staring blankly at the TV, which was turned off. His eyes didn't follow me, but he smiled, like he knew I was watching. I stepped back. The door creaked, and from the shadows, Evelyn's voice. "He likes you." I ran to my room, locked the door, and cried. I finally understood. The room wasn't for twins. The rules weren't for children. I was being groomed. They didn't want a nanny. They wanted a bride. From that moment on, everything changed. Evelyn started calling me darling more often, and her tone shifted from kind to commanding. "Darling, fold the linens. Darling, fetch the tea. Darling, make yourself presentable." I felt her watching me more. Her footsteps outside my door became more frequent. She began locking the front door every time she stepped out, even if it was just to collect the mail. I wanted to believe she was just being careful, but deep down I knew she didn't want me to leave. And then there was him. I never learned his name. Evelyn never said it. She only referred to him as my boy. Every day, she took a tray of food behind the locked door, humming the same tune I'd heard on that first day. One afternoon, I saw her place a suit jacket on the couch. "You'll need to look nice when she finally says yes," she whispered through the door. The next morning, she laid out a white dress on my bed. It was laced, vintage, and had clearly been worn before. A note sat on top of it. "Dinner with the family tonight. Be lovely." My blood ran cold. I told her I was sick, that I had stomach pains, that I wasn't ready to meet anyone. She smiled, stroked my hair, and said, "Don't worry, my boy is very patient." That night, she knocked on my door with a tray, chicken, mashed potatoes, and a glass of red wine. "You need to eat," she said. "You'll feel better." I waited until she left and dumped the entire plate in the toilet. I didn't trust anything anymore. Not the food, not her smiles, not even my own instincts. I was trapped. No documents. No phone, no way out. And then it got worse. I began hearing scratching at night. Gentle, rhythmic, like fingernails against my doorframe. It would stop just before dawn. Once, I found a folded paper under the door that read, "Smile more, he's watching." I wanted to scream. I stayed in my room for hours, pretending to sleep, praying, shaking. My hands were blistered from constant cleaning, my ankles sore from pacing. I started marking the days with hairpins hidden behind the dresser. 7, 8, 9. Time became blurry. On the 10th night, Evelyn announced, "Tomorrow's a special day. It's our family anniversary." She handed me the dress again, pressed and ironed. "You'll wear this. I've prepared a ceremony." "A ceremony?" I asked, barely breathing. She smiled. "A little tradition we do. For new beginnings." I wanted to run. I considered breaking a window, but the thought of being caught in the woods, alone and undocumented, terrified me even more. That night, I heard the lock on my door turn from the outside. Click. No one entered, but now she had the key. The next morning, I didn't come out of my room. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the dress in my lap, staring at the flowers embroidered along the sleeves. They looked like the orchids Evelyn claimed to love. I wondered how many girls had worn this before me. I wondered how many had tried to escape. At noon, she knocked. "Time to get ready," she sang through the door. I didn't answer. She knocked again, louder this time. "Angel, don't make me open this door." I stayed quiet. I heard the key turning, the door opening slowly. She stepped in, holding a comb and a small bottle of perfume. "You're not being grateful," she said, voice flat. "You should be honored. My boy doesn't open up to just anyone." I finally stood. "I want to go home." She looked at me for a long time. "There is no home. This is your home now." "I'll scream," I said. She smiled. "No one will hear you." She turned and left, locking the door behind her. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited. I listened. I pressed my ear to the wall, hoping for silence, but instead, I heard movement. Footsteps, soft knocking, a quiet whisper. Tomorrow is the day. I sat on the floor and cried until my voice broke, but somewhere between the sobs, I found a flicker of something I thought I had lost. Anger. If I stayed, I would disappear, just like all the other angels. And if I ran, I might die trying. But I would rather die running than live as a ghost in that house. The sun hadn't yet risen when I made my decision. I took the white dress and tore it into strips. I tied two together and made a crude rope, knotting them with shaking fingers. I didn't know how strong it would be. I didn't care. I just knew I couldn't be here when the ceremony began. The window didn't open, but the old wooden frame was loose. I had spent 2 nights working the edges with the back of my toothbrush, slowly loosening the nails until one finally gave. I slipped the knotted dress rope through the narrow gap and prayed it would hold. I tied the other end to the leg of the heavy dresser. And I climbed. The drop wasn't far, but I landed badly, my ankle twisting with a sickening pop. Pain exploded through my leg, but I didn't stop. I crawled through the grass, thorns scraping my arms, dirt filling my nails. I didn't look back. Somewhere behind me, I heard the front door creak open. "Angel?" Her voice was soft, almost amused. "Are you hiding, darling?" I bit down on my wrist to keep from crying out. I reached the edge of the property, where the trees gave way to tall grass and swampy ground. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't even know which direction was north. I just knew I had to put space between me and that house. I walked until I couldn't anymore. My ankle gave out near a broken fence, and I collapsed under a tree, shaking. That's when I heard it, a voice, a man's voice. "Ma'am, you all right?" I looked up. A man in a reflective vest stood near a parked truck. A surveyor, maybe. I tried to speak, but only air came out. I pointed behind me. He rushed over, saw the blood on my arms, the torn fabric wrapped around my waist, the panic in my eyes. "Did someone hurt you?" I nodded. He helped me into the truck. I expected him to ask more, but instead, he handed me a bottle of water and drove in silence. When we reached the nearest town, he pulled into a gas station and called 911. That's how I ended up in a hospital bed 2 hours later, surrounded by people who didn't know my name, didn't speak my language, but looked at me like I was human. The police came. They asked questions. I answered everything. I told them about Evelyn, about the locked room, about the man inside, about the letters, about the dress, about the music. They listened. They wrote it all down. Then they looked at each other, and they said the house had burned down. I blinked. "What?" "Fire. Early morning," the officer said. "By the time we got there, it was gone." My throat closed. "And the people inside?" "No one found," he said. "Not yet." I stayed in that hospital for 2 days. No one came to see me. No one asked for me by name. I had no ID, no passport, no family in the U.S. Just a broken ankle and a haunted mind. They moved me to a shelter for immigrant women. The staff were kind, the beds were clean, but the nightmares followed me there too. One day, a volunteer handed me a small package, no return address. Inside was a single folded note. It said, "You were the prettiest one yet. E." I dropped the paper and screamed. They changed my name the next day, moved me to another state. I don't know where Evelyn is, or what happened to her boy. I don't know how many girls came before me, or how many after. All I know is this: they promised me a job, they promised me a future, they promised me America. They lied. At night, I still hear the music in my dreams, the same humming I heard behind that door, the same soft notes Evelyn used to sing when she thought I wasn't listening. It creeps into my sleep like a fog I can't escape, wrapping around my chest until I wake up gasping for air. I've tried to rebuild my life. The people at the shelter helped me apply for a visa under a humanitarian program. I take English classes. I clean houses part-time. I smile when I have to. But the truth is, I'm still running. Every time I see an older woman in public, I look at her hands first. Are they trembling? Do they carry a scent of lemon and lavender? Is she watching me too long? Sometimes I think I see Evelyn in the corner of my eye. Sometimes I think she never left. One of the counselors told me I should share my story, that maybe it would help me heal. Maybe it will. Maybe someone out there will believe me. Maybe someone will finally stop her. Before she finds another angel. Months passed, and slowly, I learned to breathe again. At the shelter, they called me by a new name, Isabel. It felt strange at first, like putting on someone else's skin. But over time, I began to wear it with less fear. I was no longer Angel. Angel had been trapped in that house. Isabel had escaped, but healing wasn't linear. Every step forward came with a shadow. I couldn't hear a door creak without flinching. I couldn't see a white lace dress without my stomach tightening. Some nights, I'd wake up mid-scream, heart pounding, convinced Evelyn was standing at the foot of my bed, holding that comb, smiling with her dead eyes. Still, I fought. I showed up to therapy. I cooked meals for the other girls. I taught one of them how to write her name in English. I took small jobs, cleaning hotel rooms under the table, always with one eye on the exit. Then one morning, I saw her. I was walking back from the corner store, a bag of oranges in one hand, when I saw an old woman step out of a black SUV. She wore a red scarf, the same kind Evelyn used to tie around her neck. Her gait was slower, but her posture was still proud. Our eyes met. She didn't smile, she didn't blink. She simply got back into the car and drove off. I froze on the sidewalk, oranges rolling into the gutter. Was it her? I told the shelter. They moved me again. Another state. Another name. But it didn't matter. The fear had already followed me. Later that year, the authorities reopened the case. A girl from Guatemala escaped a similar home in another state. Same setup, same script, an older woman, a promise of work, a hidden man in a locked room. This time, the girl had photos, proof. They connected the dots. They found 3 addresses linked to the same burner phone, Evelyn's number. But she was gone, vanished. No fingerprints, no bank accounts, no paper trail. It was as if she had never existed. And the boy? Still no record, no birth certificate, no medical files, no ID, just the memory of his smile. Some believed Evelyn wasn't working alone, that there were others like her, that somewhere in the country there were more homes like that. Quiet, clean, respectable on the outside, and hiding monsters within. I tried not to think about it, but I couldn't help it. One evening, while working late at a hotel, I opened a closet to find a white uniform, folded perfectly, my size, with a note on top that read, "You're doing great, Angel." I quit that night and never went back. Years have passed. I'm legally documented now. I work at a small bakery run by a woman who knows my real name but never asks about my past. I rent a room above the shop. I send money back home every month. My mother still thinks I'm working as a nanny for a kind old woman. I let her believe it. Some truths are too heavy to share. Sometimes I wonder if Evelyn is watching, if she's still out there, waiting for another girl who wants to believe in America. Another girl desperate enough to answer the wrong message. But mostly, I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't escaped. Would I still be in that room? Would I have become just another ghost in her house? Another angel? I don't have all the answers. But I know this. When someone promises you the world too easily, look closer. Sometimes, behind the smile, is a trap. Some people say America is the land of second chances. But for people like me, for girls who arrive with hope and a suitcase full of trust, that second chance almost never comes. What we get are empty promises dressed as opportunities. Smiles that hide shackles, kindness that conceals control. I don't tell this story to scare anyone. I tell it because someone needs to hear it. Because someone right now is packing their things, replying to a message that feels too good to be true. Someone is being called darling before she even lands at the airport. If that someone is you, please, look again, ask the hard questions, listen to your gut. And if you've already fallen into the trap, know this, it's not your fault. You were lied to, and you're not alone. There are shelters. There are people who will believe you. And there is always a way out, even if it takes crawling through the dirt, running on a broken ankle, screaming into silence until someone hears you. I survived. Barely. But I did. And if I can, maybe you can too. If this story moved you in any way, please help it reach more people. Like this video, share it. And most importantly, leave a comment telling me what city and country you're watching from. I want to see how far the truth can travel. Maybe, just maybe, it'll reach someone who needs it the most. And if you're ready for another story like this one, click on the next video on your screen. They lied to me, but I live to tell the truth.